Thursday morning, Bollockz, football-wise. We're chatting to Brandon from Top Odds is coming up.
Yeah, I'm lining him up as we speak.
Yeah, so looking at all the betting odds that you could look at, what would be a possible good punt, what would be a possible bad punt, all maybe little inside hints that you can get. Because there'll be a few close ones this weekend, I reckon. There's going to be not so much in the bag calls. It's both abroad and locally. There's just so much going on at the moment.
I must say, this is the toughest time to be betting because all teams wants to win. Bottom of the teams at the bottom are really fighting hard for it.
It's exactly that. Yeah. It's when you look at that time of the year, you go you look at England, for instance, and you'll see someone's playing Sunderland. Okay, cool. Maybe I can lump money on someone against the bottom of the table. But excuse me, Sunderland are playing for their life here. Even when it's, as they showed last week, even when it's up against title contenders, they were up in the Etihad and Stamford Bridge last week, midweek and weekend, hectic schedule, managed to get 4 points out of it. I think that's a betting man's nightmare. But hey, he did all the inside track he can get at the moment. See what Brandon can offer us.
And we're talking to Brandon on the line. Brandon, where do you want to start?
Oh, geez, I know you guys are talking about David Moyes, but I think that's where we have to start.
Sorry, bro.
No problem. Yeah, I apologize to me. I'm actually very happy. Actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it is actually.
Then we should have had you on the line. We should have had you to talk about the sacking. Just the sacking and no betting.
100%. But you know what?
Yeah.
I feel sorry for him, but I don't feel. At the end of the day, it's a good thing for Manchester United. I believe that if David Moyes finished in the top 4, he'd still have his job. With the squad he had, if he had beaten Everton, he was 7 points off fourth. So I just think that Manchester United didn't expect such a bad performance, this season. I think they thought he'd keep them in the top 4. I mean, that's massive revenue. It's 50 million pounds or euro. I mean, revenue that's lost. And when they did fire him, the share price went up 1%. So it can't be a bad thing. The players weren't responding to him. He sold Vidic before the season was over. He came out and said that he needs to revamp the side. So a lot of players at the beginning of the season thought maybe, this guy's going to give us the axe anyway. What are we playing for? And I just think that, it's interesting now to see who's going to take over from him.
Yeah, look, I think that last game against Everton showed that we had a whole bunch of people that were just not playing for David Moyes, it seemed. And you could look at some people, even at the halftime, I thought the Sky were doing a great thing looking at people's body language at halftime. Guys like Fletcher and Johnny Evans, and they just seemed A, confused, B, just totally not believing what they were in. So I think it was a case of, Manchester United going, look, do we back this guy with a completely different squad of players, or do we just and let him totally restructure the club? And let's be honest, he hasn't got himself a scenario where you could trust him at all to do that. Or do we take these players and have them feel a bit more comfortable to build on? And it's just, for a whole bunch of reasons, economics-wise, it just makes a whole bunch of sense to get rid of Moyes, really.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, who's really going to sign, for Manchester United to play under David Moyes? Especially, after the performances that we've seen. I mean, he's just not a Manchester United manager. I mean, score one goal and go and defend, and then get beaten or draw on 90 minutes. That's not the Man United way. I mean, and myself being a Manchester United fan, I'd rather lose 10 games in the season, 4-3, than lose the way we've been losing under him. Just no attacking prowess, no attacking play, and that's no creativity. So, yeah, I'm not upset. I'm interested to see who's going to take over. We can give you some betting on who's going to succeed.
Please do.
And Louis van Gaal is the favourite. He's 9-4 with the bookmakers. Funnily enough, Jurgen Klopp is at 9-2. Now that's the Borussia Dortmund manager. Yeah. So just under 5-1, and he has kind of ruled himself out, but the betting hasn't really changed.
This is what I find so interesting about the Klopp thing, is every time I hear him, he keeps ruling out coaching Manchester United, and the odds stay the same about him taking the job.
So, I mean, nothing's changed with regard to him. So obviously, the bookies know something there that we don't know. And then Ryan Giggs at 6-1. But the reason they bet that way is because if the manager or the guy that they appoint is in charge for 10 games, then he's deemed to be, for betting purposes, a manager for a long enough period for you to get paid out. But I don't think that's going to happen.
So there's got to be some switch between caretaker and permanent manager, and 10 games is the mark.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. And funny enough, Alex Ferguson 20-1 to return. So very, very interesting. But I think Louis van Gaal, when they smoke this fire, the only problem I have with him is that can they make it official before the World Cup? He is the coach of Holland, and I don't think Manchester United are going to wait for a manager to be busy at the World Cup and then come back and miss out on signings like they did last season.
Absolutely, yeah, because that's going to be cutting it tight with the windows, the end of the World Cup versus the transfer window. So you're absolutely right. That's the one thing about Louis van Gaal that I think is really has to be borne in mind. And I saw a poll the other day of guys that they want for Manchester United manager, which of course is going to be popular this time. Of course it is. And I saw in one poll, 10% like of fans, wherever they got it from, but 10% wanted Tony Pulis as manager of Manchester United. That is what David Moyes has done to United. 10% of fans want Tony Pulis to be boss. Can you imagine that?
So they're willing to stoop.
I think
it's not really stupid.
I think it would be cool. Could you think about the amount of baseball caps sitting around Old Trafford? The Glazers would love that kind of thing.
But you know, at the end of the day, I think that it's got to be a guy big enough for the job, and Moyes was never big enough. I mean, even if he did well, who wants to play for him? I mean, and I've said this to Neil before. I mean, you imagine you losing 1-0, and this guy walks into the dressing room and says to you, listen, yeah, you guys, you can win this game. A guy that's never won a trophy is telling you this. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, it's all persona and who, you know, who's going to get the best out of you. And I don't think he was ever going to be that man. But sure, I feel sorry for him. I don't feel sorry for Manchester United, and the fact that, you know, it's exciting now. We'll have a new manager, and hopefully the guy can turn it around. But it's still big shoes to fill. And to be honest, I think Ferguson did Man United a little bit of a disservice appointing Moyes, because he knew that whoever takes over from him is going to have a tough time. And Moyes is the scapegoat.
Cool. Talking betting, obviously, I'm on Top Odds Compare, and I'm checking out the Everton-Southam game, which I find interesting because obviously Everton, well, they can really beat any team if they play hard. And then Southam on the other side, they have a good attacking side with Lallana, Rodriguez, even though he's out, but we still have Lambert who can score goals week in, week out. Where do you see this game going?
You know, Everton slipped up a little bit. I know they beat Manchester United. The game before that, they slipped up and they took the pressure off Arsenal. They're 1 point behind. You have to back Everton to win the game. The problem is that Southampton are on a bad side, although they have dropped off and have nothing really to play for. I think you have to be with Everton in that fixture. But, you know, more important for me, Comfort, is the Chelsea-Liverpool game.
Yeah.
This is the title decider. We know that. And you can see from the betting where both bookmakers have Chelsea up at 41-10. That's just over 4-1. And Liverpool at 6.5 to 10. Now, the 6.5 to 10 against a big side at home. The Pope was an altar boy. That's how long ago you have to see Liverpool at home against the top. Against Man City, they were 14-10. They came away with a victory, and I'm expecting them to beat Chelsea this weekend. They're 6.5 to 10 with both bookmakers, and if they win this weekend, surely that's the title.
Oh, that's got to be then that's got to be lights out then, really, because I think Liverpool can win this title even if they lose this game, which is a massive if, of course, because I'm really not sure that they will. It's interesting how Chelsea's season just seems to be unraveling domestically while they go on in Europe. I mean, the two are probably hand in hand, aren't they? It's always a poison chalice when you have a tight title race, but you're the one still left in Europe.
Yeah, because they were also 3-6 points ahead at some point.
Well, after they win in the Etihad, you really thought, okay, that was 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago kind of thing. You thought, okay, well, this is the time to really cash in. Jose's going to park the bus when he needs to and haul out the 1-0 when he can, and Chelsea are going to grind out this title. But domestically, it was just all the other fixtures, like the loss to Aston Villa, the loss to Sunderland, so the home loss record the home record that Jose Mourinho is so proud of is now out the window. It just seems to be unraveling domestically while while in Europe they've just stayed in there. It's been weird.
You know, when Jose came out and said that, you know, he can't be favoured for the title, I don't think he was playing mind games. I think he was being dead serious. We just read a little bit too much into what he says. I mean, you can't win a Premier League and a Champions League without a striker. Torres is not good enough. Eto's past it. I know he gets him a goal here and there. And Demba Ba in the last 2 games for Chelsea, has come up and found them a winner. The problem is you can't rely on those strikers, and I think Jose knows that. And you saw in the Champions League on Tuesday night against Atletico Madrid. I mean, she was, if I've ever seen parking the bus, that was it. And the problem for Jose now is in the second leg he's at home, but where are the goals going to come from? Hazard's injured. I don't know if he's going to be back. The Schürrle's okay. He's not the best player that I've ever seen. Oscar hasn't really come to the fore now that Hazard's been injured. So, I mean, where do the goals come from? If you don't look at John Terry and Gary Cahill giving you a header, in that 6-yard area, you strap for goals. And in football, that's a massive, massive problem. And I think that's why they've tapered off. They just haven't scored enough goals. I mean, you look at Liverpool, and within 10 minutes, you can be 2-0 down. Chelsea don't have that same threat. Man City do, but I think Man City have given themselves too much to do by losing at Anfield. If they could have at least drawn that game, it would have knocked the league wide open. But kudos to Liverpool. How do you beat a side when their captain cries, after beating Man City 3-2? There's so much emotion there. It's going to be very, very difficult. Very difficult.
Well, that's the thing, with the scoring goals. I mean, that's the thing with a team, especially in the Premier League. It seems that you can get away and almost pretend that you have a solid defense, but you can't pretend to score goals. You can get people shorn up tactically and just get bodies behind the ball with people that aren't so technically minded. But if you can't score goals, it's just not happening. And Liverpool, a fabulous case in point, seem to be going week in and week out, showing that you can score 2 against us, but we're definitely good for at least 3. I think that's been the key factor. And that's the thing with Chelsea that I've got to look at, is that we've all seen it and said, these guys need strikers up front. They're kind of relying on playing either dudes out of form or guys a bit over the hill, etc. And you think, why is Romelu Lukaku out on loan for these guys? Why on earth did he not back him?
Yeah, at the end of the day, even if he had Lukaku, I don't think Lukaku would be starting every game. He's not a Jose Mourinho player. If Jose wanted him, he would have kept him. That's the bottom line. I think that Chelsea are going to spend massive money in this window, and they're going to have a massive problem come next week against Atletico Madrid. I think it is next week or maybe the week after, because now they're in a situation where they didn't get an away goal. Okay, If Atletico Madrid score, Chelsea are going to have to score 2. So if they're battling to win fixtures 1-0, how do you expect them to score 2 goals against the Atletico Madrid side that are very, very potent up front? It wasn't an Atletico Madrid side that you could be proud of on Tuesday night, but they did try everything to break Chelsea down and it just didn't work. I don't think Chelsea will survive another 90 minutes trying to keep them out like they did, because they need to go and get a goal at Stamford Bridge, and to try and get that goal, the gaps will be there for Atletico Madrid. So, I've liked Chelsea to win the Champions League. Like you say, no strikers, you can't hide not scoring goals, and unfortunately you need to score goals over 2 legs to get through, and I just don't think they're going to find the extra to beat Atletico Madrid. If I can turn you guys' attention, sorry.
Okay, cool.
To the Man United game. And the reason I want to turn your attention to that, obviously, is because Ryan Giggs' first game as caretaker manager, and they play Norwich, who are not a bad side, believe it or not. They also changed their manager, and since then they've been a little bit fresh. They're fighting in that relegation or the bottom half of the table. Manchester United are 4-10 with Alan Bookmaker. 38-10 the draw, and Norwich at 68-10. I don't think I can take 4-10 Manchester United with Ryan Giggs as their manager. I think the bookies are being a little bit unfair here, pricing them up. At that. I mean, GC has no experience, and we just don't know how this game's going to pan out. So maybe Norwich at just under 7-1 might be a little bit of value.
Well, this is the one thing about Norwich, is because they're in such a relegation battle at the moment. They've got 3 games left, and they're in 17th, so they're the right mark above the dotted line. But you look at their last 3 games that they've got left. It's Manchester United away, Chelsea away, Arsenal at home. I mean, that's just as mean as it gets, really. So it's not a case of, you see, sometimes you'd see teams in the relegation zone going, okay, Man United away, Old Trafford, no ways we're getting points there. Might even rest some players and identify the midweek team that we have next week, that kind of thing. Norwich can't afford to do that. They're going to have to go out all guns blazing against all the top sides and just have a bit of a carefree throw to the wind idea. Oh, they're going to go down. They can't be conservative. They're going to have to go for it, or they're going to go down. That's one thing in Norwich's favour, which have been different to how they ordinarily treat this fixture.
That's it. I mean, and if there's any time to go to Old Trafford, it's on Saturday. We've never been in this position. They've never been in a situation where a manager left after 11 months, and they have to come back now and show the fans that they can do it without a leader. I know Giggs is well respected, but tactically, you never know. If I were Norwich, I'd be sitting down and saying, guys, if ever there's a 3 points available, it's on Saturday.
And I was also checking out the Champions League outright betting. But it quickly refreshed while I was checking. I think their odds may have been changed or something.
While they were listening to
So
us,
now
clearly.
they're closed, yeah.
Well, the games were last night, so it'll take the bookies a little bit of time this morning. The odds that you saw there were probably odds from last night.
But how difficult is it to calculate your odds? I mean, it should be, I think Chelsea is going to win, so let me put that at 3-1 or something. How complicated is the process?
It's very complicated. Bookies have to sit down and see who's playing, who's not playing, how the sides play, in midweek, this weekend, injuries. Real Madrid got a good result last night.
Yep.
And you'd have to price Real Madrid up at favourites now. I mean, they've got the goal. They will be favourites in the outright betting, I can assure you that, because they have the advantage. They won't be big favourites. Bayern Munich will be very close, if not joint favourites with them, because I think the bookies believe that the winner will come out of that tie. And I was impressed with Real Madrid last night. They did what Manchester United tried to do against this Bayern Munich side, and that's hit them on the break. I mean, if Danny Welbeck, could just finish his opportunities and Rooney, it might be a different story. United might be in the semi-final, but they've got such a potent attack, and Bale and Ronaldo will both be fit for the second leg. Geez, how do you look past Real Madrid? I don't think you can.
Yeah, just try to be solid in the middle all day, and you got Ronaldo and Bale out wide for pace, chasing up any counter that you can break on with the 1-0 lead. Yeah, I mean, look, it's a massive position, and of course 1-0. If you have the home leg first, 1-0 is so much better than if you won 2-1.
Yeah. Can afford to give away.
You stop that side getting the away goal, and I mean, they've got it all to play for Bayern Munich. They have to come out and win the game, and they have to stop Real Madrid scoring. So it's a bit of a conundrum for Pep Guardiola, and that's the problem that he's going to have, is how adventurous can he be without conceding. If he concedes, he's got to score 3-4 goals. 3 or 4 goals to get them through. And that's always going to be a tall order against the Madrid side that can score. I think Bayern Munich had to try and get a goal last night. They had a few opportunities, but Iker Casillas was very, very good. And my goodness gracious, who's going to go through? I don't know. Comfort, give us your pick.
I say
it's so easy to pick the betting. It's 4 teams. Give me the winner.
Madrid. It's always been Madrid for me. I think Madrid is going to go all the way. Look, even though I know Madrid's side has always failed at Germany. We saw what happened last year when they were playing Dortmund, I think. They lost, 4-0 or something like that. It was a ridiculous goal in Germany.
Yeah.
But I think they have Zinedine Zidane, who's got that X factor and who can motivate players. And he's won it in Germany before.
Yeah, look. I think at the risk of sounding obvious, I think the winner was always going to come out of last night's tie.
Yeah.
I think the Real Bayern thing was always going to be it. I didn't think Atletico have had an incredible season, but I really think it's too early to expect a Champions League win from them. Chelsea, okay, maybe if it was a Chelsea-Real final that we're dealing with, Mourinho up against Real again, they'll spice it up. But I'm definitely not putting money on Chelsea winning that game. I think it was always going to be the winner of last night, and 1-0 is a fantastic result. I got to pick Real, have to.
Well, you guys you won't be shocked then to find, if you guys are thinking that way, that Real Madrid will be priced up as favourites after that result. And I think they played well. I think, they were under pressure for the first 20 minutes of the game. And then, if you watch the in-running betting on Top Odds on our front page, slowly but surely Real Madrid started to drift. I thought they were a good price at the beginning of the game. Our bookmakers were offering them up at 14-10 to win at home. And they started to drift slowly, and I think when they were around 18, 19-10, they put the goal in. And that's another option for our punters on Top Odds, just to watch the betting in running on the front page. And maybe a lot of times the teams don't score very early. They take 20 minutes, 25 minutes to get a goal, and you get better value as the bookies change their prices, because their opinion on the game changes, obviously, from what they're seeing.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Brandon. We'll chat to you next week. Interesting chat, and I hope Man United go all the way to win it next season.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Camp. I hope Real Madrid cheat in the next game.
Okay, cheers. Cool. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Cheers. So that was Brandon from Top Odds. Interesting quips there. It's amazing how the betting will change so quickly with it. You know, it's almost not quick enough, it would seem. I mean, these days it's quite hectic. So we're all in agreement. Real, total pole position when that happened. Favorites being good. Top Odds are going to agree. We agree. And that's all good. Some interesting bettings. I thought the Everton-Southampton game was an interesting game to pick, so to speak. Him saying you got to pick Everton. I mean, it's Southampton at home, hey, you know, and they've been solid up front and at the back. That's a thing to confidently come out and say that. I thought that was very interesting. A lot of value going on in the Premier League at the moment, got to say.
Bollockz on Balls.
Thursday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m.
Balls.co.za. Bollockz on Balls.